Is it possible we're seeing a shift in the Gulf Front condo market? The numbers are in for Seychelles for April 2022. I'm Craig Duran with the Duran Group at Berkshire Hathaway Home Services. There are a couple of very interesting trends I'm watching. I want to share those with you today. Before I get into the numbers, if you know anyone that might benefit from this, either other owners in Seychelles or really the Gulf Front condo market in general, the same fundamentals apply. Please share this with them or encourage them to subscribe to the YouTube channel. I do this once a month, really just hoping to try to be helpful and informative. I'm getting a lot of good feedback about the videos that people really like. It's a good way for people to stay up to date with good information. So if you know anyone that might benefit, please share that with them. Let's get right to it. There's some important things I want to share with you. I haven't done Seychelles specifically in a couple of months, so I want to dig into that right now. First of all, I guess theoretically, let's talk about something pretty simple. Most of us are familiar with supply and demand. If we have more supply and not enough demand in the market, prices go down. If we have intense demand, If we have intense demand and low supply, prices go up. So we know that the last couple of years, the condo market has been very hot because we have tons of demand and there just have been not very many condos to purchase. There have not been very many for sale. Let's look at some supply and demand numbers and see a very interesting shift, I think, that's happened just in the first 4 months of the year. We're looking at a spreadsheet from January. Don't worry about digging into every specific cell here. Just focus on column B and column D for a second, and don't even worry about the numbers. Just look at the red and the green and watch what's happening here. January of 2022, we were down about 50% year over year on condos for sale, meaning buyers had about 50% fewer condos available to buy. They walked in the condo store and it was half full. And that was compared to the year before, which was already a hot market. They were still good demand. We wrote 36, 9, 16, 17% more contracts when compared to the year before, which, like I said, was a very hot market. So things were still churning right along. February, look at the green and the red. Still down about 50%. The store is still 50%, has 50% fewer condos for sale, but buyers' demand is waning a little bit. We're down now 17, 10, 17, 24% demand. We're not writing as many contracts on condos in February as we did year over year. March, look at what happens now. Instead of being down 50%, the store now has more in it. 40%, 34%, 27%, only 11% fewer condos, meaning the store's kind of 90% full again. Buyers have more choices on condos. And demand is waning. This is important too. Down 47, 51, 49, big numbers. We're now down in demand, more supply again, and really kind of to finish it off, for the first time in 4 months, and probably even more than that, we now have more supply year over year than we did. 2%, 10%, 23%, 25% more condos. The store now has to bring in more shelves because there's more condos available than compared to last year. And look at demand still hasn't kept up with what was happening last year. So very simply, there's been a shift of not a lot of supply and plenty of demand the other direction just in 4 months in the condo market. And we're heading into beach season. Think about that for a minute. You guys know the importance of supply and demand in this months of inventory number right here. Remember, months of inventory, 4 or 5 months represents a neutral market. Pricing, you would think, would stay stable in a neutral market. The idea is that the process to put a condo up for sale and get to closing would take 4 or 5 months to work through the whole process. Marketing, negotiating, closing. Back in January, where we just started on the last spreadsheet, we were at 0.54 months of inventory. Theoretically, the entire Gulf Front market would sell out in a half a month. Units were selling in 15 days. They were going up for sale, negotiating, closing, 15 days. Was not surprising. That's how hot, and I think where we took for granted just how hot it was. We're now, fast forward, we're almost 5 times as slow, and we're at 2.27 months of inventory. Now the process is taking 60 days, 75 days on average for a condo to sell. It doesn't feel like a big shift yet. In some ways it does. If you put a condo up for sale 3 or 4 months ago and it moved that quickly and now it's sitting for a month, you're starting to go, hey, what's going on? Across the board, agents and buyers aren't really digging into these numbers yet. They still hear plenty of stories in a lot of markets about how hot the real estate market is. So I don't know that everybody feels this quite yet, but it's there. I was just at a conference in Orlando last week with a bunch of really good agents from San Diego, Atlanta, Philadelphia, Rhode Island, Orlando, Toronto. You get the idea. And we're hearing story after story still of it's very difficult for buyers to find something to buy, multiple offer situations, still very intense real estate market. But that's for people who are buying a primary residence. It's very different in a condo market, which is secondary home, investment, discretionary income. So it'll be interesting to watch what happens the rest of the year, because we are seeing some signs that things are a little cooler than they were. On its face, 2.27 months of inventory is still a seller's market. It's just not nuclear hot like it was in January. If we look at Seychelles specifically, Seychelles had been as hot as anything on the beach. November, there was 1 month of inventory. December, 2 months of inventory. January, February, that about a half month of inventory that mirrored the rest of the beach. It's jumped up to 7 in April. We're looking at less data here, so it's probably a more volatile chart. Active listings has leaped up to 7, months of inventory has jumped up to 7 just because there's 7 listings up there for sale right now. We've only sold 1 in April. I wanted to pull the March and April sales for you because I hadn't done this recently. The only sale we've had recently was a closing. We actually worked on this one, 1 bedroom, 2 bath that closed for $446,000. Took a little doing. This was actually went under contract 3 times to finally get to closing. So a couple of takeaways, especially I want to talk to the potential sellers for a minute. If you're an owner and you're thinking about selling at all, notice one more thing here, and I'll talk strategy for a minute. This is April of 2021. The red line, again, remember, is units for sale. Red line, April 2021, May, June, July, August. We added a ton of supply in the summer months last year, about 3 or 4 times as much supply if you look at the numbers. If you think about that, it's not surprising. Units are heavily rented, heavily occupied in the summer months. It's beach season. If someone wants to buy something, it's very difficult for us as real estate professionals to arrange for showing appointments to show them everything they're thinking about buying, especially now as we have more choices for them. Because of that, even though there's a lot of demand, demand wanes a little bit on paper because we just can't write as many contracts. Buyers can't make the commitment because they can't see anything. We have kind of a rush of demand, of some pent-up demand gets released. Usually August, September, you see some buyers come back to the market. But think about this. If this year we're already drifting up in supply a little bit, and if the same thing happens this summer and we add more supply, we could be drifting up pretty quickly in another 3 or 4 months to neutral market territory, maybe drifting into buyer market territory. The longer we're in neutral market territory, the more you would expect prices to flatten out and maintain. The longer we drift, the further we drift into buyer market territory, or the longer we stay there, it's going to have to put pressure on pricing. There are not as many buyers. There are plenty of sellers who really want to sell for whatever reason, and at some point their only option is then to bring pricing down a little bit. If you're thinking about selling, you might think about starting the process sooner rather than later. Just in the first 4 months of the year, you have more competition today than you did 2 or 3 months ago. If you're going to wait through the season for whatever reason, think about starting your sales process sooner. Calling the real estate office in September is fine, but you may start thinking about late June, early July. It can take us some time to get the media assets together. We have to pick a day where a unit isn't rented or occupied to shoot videos and photos. And then we have to hope that that same day is also a nice weather day So we're trying to find a day just to shoot the videos and everything takes some time. That stuff takes time to edit. It takes us time to build websites and things like that. And then if we can get it to market early, middle July, you're starting to see in the numbers that it's taking a little longer right now to get a unit under contract anyway. If it does get to contract, it's normally a 30-day close. Now you're getting towards the end of the season anyway. So if you're worried about trying to keep revenue, you're going to end up keeping revenue even if you start the process late June, early July. So think about that if it's something you're considering liquidating. I know that's a lot. I just wanted to dig into the numbers because I think these trends are important. The next few months could be really important for the condo market, especially the last thing I would tell you is what do we project or think the economy might be doing in August, September, October. So if we're waiting to sell until later this year because of rental season or beach season, and we have these things happening with supply and demand, what do we have happening in the overall economy? Do we think the overall economy is going to be better, worse, or the same in August or September? That will have a very, very huge factor on what's already happening internally inside of the condo market. So food for thought. Seychelles owners, thanks for watching. Again, please share this kind of stuff with anyone you know that might benefit from it. And we'll be back next month with some more info. Thanks for watching.